A woman kneels beside a body in the dirt. She is not crying. She is arranging flowers. 100,000 years ago, someone chose to do this. Most people assume burial began with religion, with gods. That's not what the evidence suggests happened first. Before there were prayers, there were only bodies. And choices. A body left in the open rots within days. Predators come. Scavengers come. The smell spreads for miles. The easiest thing, biologically, is to simply walk away. Almost every animal on Earth does exactly that. Except, at some point, one species stopped walking away. In 1908, in a cave in France, diggers found something strange. A skeleton, curled on its side, deliberately positioned, deliberately placed. Around it, tools, stone flakes, a haunch of bison meat. This was not abandonment. This was preparation for something. Scientists still debate what that something was, but the position of the body was not accidental. Someone had knelt down, in grief or ritual, and arranged it. Here is the uncomfortable question underneath all of this. What does it cost, biologically, to bury the dead? Time, energy, exposure to predators while distracted, vulnerable, digging. In a world of constant survival pressure, that cost is enormous. And yet, again and again, across thousands of years, they paid it. This is where the story stops being about corpses. It starts being about what a mind requires to grieve. Grief is not simple sadness. Grief requires a concept of loss. To lose someone, you must first understand they existed continuously. You must hold a model of them in your mind, a model that persists even after the body stops moving. Most animals do not appear to hold that model. A cat forgets. A bird moves on. A herd continues. But somewhere in human evolution, forgetting became impossible. At Shanidar Cave in Iraq, researchers found something in 1960 that unsettled everyone. A Neanderthal skeleton, surrounded by pollen clusters from flowering plants. For decades, this was called the flower burial. A tender act. Later, some scientists argued the pollen came from burrowing rodents. The debate never fully resolved. Doubt crept back into wonder. But the deeper unsettling fact remained, regardless of the flowers. Neanderthals, not modern humans, were burying their dead too. This means grief. This means memory. This did not begin with us. It began before us, in a species we once called primitive. Think about what that implies for a moment. Somewhere, 100,000 years ago, two different human species were both digging graves, independently, in the dark. Neither had language as we know it, fully formed. Neither had writing, agriculture, cities, or written philosophy, and yet both had already arrived at the same terrifying conclusion. Something ends, and that ending demands a response. Here is where the scale of this widens further. Burial is not just an emotional act, it is informational. A grave is a message left for the future. It says, someone was here, someone mattered. Remember this. This is the first appearance of memory outside a single mind. Before writing, before art, the grave was humanity's first archive, which raises an uncomfortable evolutionary question few people ask directly. Why would evolution favor a behavior with no survival benefit? Digging holes does not help you hunt, or reproduce, or flee, unless the behavior itself is a side effect of something else. Something evolution actually needed. Social bonding, cooperation, group cohesion. A mind capable of loving deeply enough to cooperate for decades is also, unavoidably, a mind capable of devastating grief. You cannot select for one without inheriting the other. The very thing that made us human also made loss unbearable. At Sungir, in Russia, archaeologists found two children buried together, around 34,000 years ago, covered in thousands of ivory beads. Each bead took roughly an hour to carve by hand. That grave contained thousands of hours of collective human labor, an entire community stopping everything to bury two children properly, not for survival, not for food, not for shelter, for something we still don't have a clean word for. Some researchers call it early spirituality, others call it status, others simply unbearable love with nowhere else to go. The truth is, we may never fully know which. But notice what has happened to the scope of this story. We started with one woman kneeling beside one body. We have arrived at the origin of memory, meaning, and mourning itself. The grave, it turns out, was never really about the dead. It was the first proof that the living could not let go. And maybe that is the most human trait of all. Not tools, not fire, not language, the refusal to simply walk away. Somewhere, right now, someone is standing at a grave, running their fingers over a name carved in stone. They are doing what a woman did in a cave 100,000 years ago. Not because a god commanded it, not because tradition demanded it, but because something in us has never learned how to forget. And perhaps it never will. Like and subscribe. See you in the next.